Well, JB, it's good to see you, neighbor. We live right across the fence from each other. Uh, I'd like to begin this by talking about Texas and the University of Texas and where it fits into this. You know, LBJ in 1930 was a school teacher when that back in those days, there were, I think, 6 million Texans. And now we're 5 times larger than that. And we're the second largest state in the union, the third youngest. And we're growing so quickly that by 2050 is projected we're going to double in size, at which point we'll be the size of New York and California combined. So what does that mean? It means that the future of America is Texas. And I don't think Texans have taken on quite how serious this is. And in so many respects, the future of Texas, to some extent, is the University of Texas. So why don't we talk a little bit about what the University of Texas means to the state and what it projects to do in the future.
Sure, thanks, Larry. So yeah, the population is, as you said, going to double in 30 years. And it'll be a young population that will need education from pre-K through college. The good news is we have a lot of higher education in Texas today, but the bad news is we're still, we have no bragging rights on educational attainment. We're 34th in the country in the percentage of our population with a bachelor's degree. So if we add to that, just say twice as many people that need to get degrees over the next several decades, we're completely unprepared for it. We are not going to build the kinds of large, expensive institutions that are wonderful institutions, Texas and others, to address this growth. We're going to have to find other ways to do it. And it's not just that the population is going to double, but every year we see predictions that more and more new jobs will require education beyond high school. So the future of work factors in here too, and the need for more people with degrees and more people retooling and reskilling throughout their lives and their careers. So how are we going to do that? Well, it's going to be a variety of ways, and COVID has actually compressed, I think, to some degree, the time that it was going to take us to prepare for this. But one is, it's obvious, technology is going to change the way we educate a lot of people. We're going to do a lot more online. We're going to have to do more community college education across the state. A couple of years ago, the numbers of community college students in the country surpassed the number of four-year college students in the country. And I believe that'll continue to grow, not only because they offer less expensive education typically, and then students can transfer to senior colleges, but also because I think we're going to need more career education. We're going to need more education that prepares people immediately for technical jobs in the workplace. We're going to need more early college in high school, which is a trend that Texas has embraced and has been embraced around the country. There's no reason we can't do much more of that. So it's a combination of things that we will need to try to, increase the attainment rates in Texas so that we can be the most competitive state in the country and provide Texans with the most opportunity, but also embracing the challenge of a new workplace with increased automation and robotics and artificial intelligence, which is going to require a lot of us, maybe even you and me, Larry, to do some reskilling.
Well, I think a lot about that. I mean, the number one job in America is truck driving. And, you know, that's up to be totally automated really soon. I just think this reskilling is going to be a big future, big part of our future. And, you know, with so many things that have gotten cheaper over the years, we've gotten used to paying less for durable goods, for instance. One thing that hasn't gotten cheaper for the most part is higher education. And there's a lot of question about, you know, is it a good investment in your future? If you're going to take $100,000 and put it into something, would it be education? Would that be the first thing you'd go to, or would it be Amazon stock?
Well, don't take my word for it. Take Warren Buffett's word for it.
Yeah.
I asked him this once, and he said the best single investment that you can make is in yourself and in your education. And so I agree with him on that.
You had this on your mind, and that's great.
I still think that public higher education is a tremendous value. The 70% of the degrees awarded in this country are in public higher education. And that's really the difference maker. That's how we're going to equalize the playing field, to provide the opportunity that people need. Now, the funding for public higher education's changed over the years, not just in Texas, but across the country. 1986 was the high watermark for the state contribution to college and universities budgets, meaning that it was the time that the highest percentage of an individual college or university's budget was paid by the state. In almost every state in the country now, tuition exceeds the state contributions. Texas, better than many, and that's a tribute to our leadership. But people have had to bear more and more of the burden of education. And in part, the federal government's provided a much greater number of Pell Grants and loan programs to help students. And for the most part, it is still a tremendous investment. And people who get an education not only increase their earning power over $1 million on average over their career, but almost every other social indicator goes up with educational attainment: lifespan, health, about everything, civic participation. So it's not only important for individuals to increase not only their earning power, but their quality of life, but it's fundamentally important to the state that wants to be as competitive as possible and lead the world.
Yeah, I think that leading the world is a key, because gravity is moving in our direction. And I'm glad we got the University of Texas on the case. We're in the middle of an extraordinary period in our history. This pandemic has reset the table. I don't think anybody really knows what it's going to be like when the clouds clear again. But our life is changing, not just momentarily. And I'm wondering how, in the world of education, you're dealing with it. And what a part of it do you think will be a permanent part of the experience of going to college?
Yeah. Well, Larry, if anybody has a sense of what it's going to look like or when this will be over, you do. So I'll take your advice on that. A lot of things have happened, and you hate to say that there are any positives that have come out of this, given the tragedy, the hardship, the deaths and illness. But the response of many elements in our society, I think, has been really impressive and encouraging. In February of February of this year, we had fewer than 20% of our faculty had taught online, and fewer than 40% of our students had ever taken a course online. By April, the number was 100% in both categories. This is one of the most remarkable things I've seen in 32 years in higher education. The fact that people who either didn't want to or didn't know how to, or for a variety of reasons thought it wasn't as high a quality education to teach online, all of a sudden pivoted in a couple of weeks' time in Texas at the University of Texas system, but also across the nation. And so what happened, instead of having a lost generation of students, was students persisted. Students who were on track to graduated. Now, the graduation wasn't quite as satisfying. It was either done in a drive-in movie theater or a parking lot or completely online, but they graduated. They achieved the goal that they had hoped to, that they saved for, paid for, studied for. So this is a remarkable achievement, I think. And we're doing the same thing this fall, and we'll do the same thing in the spring. And people have gotten much better at it. And I think I was talking to a group of distinguished faculty the other day who have won awards for teaching in a very traditional sense. And they love that interaction in a relatively small classroom environment with students. But to a person, they said, this has introduced me to a new world of technological tools that don't substitute. It's not put my lecture on Zoom, but there are many ways to add to the quality of an education. So I think we're going to see much more hybrid models of delivery in the future, even when we don't need to. And I think that's going to be a value to students and to faculty. And we've already talked about the need to address this rapidly growing population. I do think that as we continue to improve the quality of the technology available for instruction, we're going to be able to meet people where they live, where they work, and deliver education in a way that they need it and will benefit from it.
So bricks and mortar, not so much, but the interaction with people will continue. Maybe not always is in person, but we'll still be able to reach people, maybe many more people than we did in the past. And I guess that is a silver lining for this really appalling period of history that we're in. Well, JB, thank you. This has been very educational. And I appreciate your leadership, and thanks for what you're doing for the state of Texas and all of our students.
Thanks, Larry. You're a great neighbor and a great interviewer, and I appreciate the chance to be with you tonight.
My pleasure.